Hold on, and class will begin in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome to Credit Card 101.
There are 5 players involved in a typical credit card transaction. The cardholder,
Let's call her Jane.
the merchant,
This could be a hotel, restaurant, or my favorite, a shoe store.
the merchant's bank.
Kind of self-explanatory, but this is the shoe store's bank, where they have their account.
Next, the card brands. Visa, American Express, MasterCard, take your pick. Finally, the issuing bank. This is where Jane got her card in the first place.
So Jane opened a Visa at her local bank and is now on the hunt for new shoes.
That's all the players. Now let's see a typical transaction.
Jane's got a hot date tonight, so of course she needs new shoes. She found the perfect ones and now it's time to check out. She hands her credit card to the cashier and a few seconds later the clerk hands her new red pumps.
But it's what happens in those few seconds that we care about. First, the cashier, the merchant, processes the card and her point-of-sale system, that's fancy payment speak for her computer, sends the payment request on to her merchant bank.
The merchant bank figures out the brand of the card. Is it a Visa, MasterCard, American Express? And sends a request onto that card network. Jane uses her new Visa. Then Visa determines which bank gave Jane the card, the issuing bank, and sends a request on to them.
The issuing bank looks at Jane's account and checks to make sure that her shoe obsession hasn't put her over her credit limit. If she still has enough credit available to cover the shoes, a response is sent back to Visa approving the purchase. Visa sends that approval back to the merchant's bank, who forwards it to the shoe store. Finally, the cashier sees that the order was approved and hands Jane the shoes. Everyone's happy.
That whole process takes place in less than 3 seconds. 3 seconds! About half the time it takes you to yawn. Amazing, isn't it? But there's more to a transaction than just charging a card. Let's look at what happens after Jane leaves the store.
At the end of the day, the shoe store settles all of their credit transactions for the day and sends the transaction records to their merchant bank. The merchant bank sorts all of the transactions by card brand and then sends the transactions to their respective card associations.
The card association authorizes a payment back to the merchant's bank to cover all these transactions, and the merchant's bank pays the shoe store, minus a fee. Then the card association bills the issuing bank and receives payment in return. Finally, Jane receives her monthly bill. And that's pretty much how it works.
This same thing happens more than 1 million times a day as transactions from Shift4's merchant customers flow through our gateway, which we call dollars on the net, on their way to nearly every bank and processor in North America. Our transaction volume, nearly 500 million unique transactions per year, makes dollars on the net the largest independent payment gateway in the world. But what is an independent payment gateway?
Well, in its simplest form, a payment gateway is the application that allows a merchant to talk to all the banks, processors, and other entities involved in a credit card transaction. Basically, we do all of this.
An independent payment gateway, like our dollars on the net, does all of this and provides the ability to choose and change processors or banks at will. Shift4 is not a merchant services provider or an independent sales organization. MSPs and ISOs tie their merchant customers to a particular bank or processor, which often leads to rate hikes, hidden fees, and fines. Instead, Shift4 is a bank and processor independent organization that helps merchants figure out the constantly changing and often confusing world of payment processing.
Even just a few years ago, the majority of gateways were independent organizations, but recently we've seen more and more processors and banks absorbing gateways and destroying their independent merchant focus. Shift4 is the last major gateway to retain independence, which gives our customers some great benefits. Most of all, it puts our merchant customers on an even playing field with the banks and processors.
Exactly. Because we've turned down the big money buyout offers and stuck it out as independents, Shift4 has no ties to any particular bank or processor. This independence means our customers have ultimate flexibility. They can easily change banks or processors whenever they want to. All it takes is the flip of a switch. This means banks and processors now have to compete again for the merchant's business. They have to play fair.
It's not just our flexibility that makes dollars on the net powerful, it's also our reliability. With redundant, high-speed connections to nearly every major bank and processor in North America, our service averages better than 99.98% uptime. Unlike many of our competitors, in less than 3 seconds, we find the best way to get transactions from place to place, ensure they make it to their destination with our assured delivery technology, and protect them from fraud and theft during the transaction and after.
How do we do that? Well, Shift4 security protocols are the best in the industry. We not only keep the data safe in transit, we also make it possible for merchants to store customer data without storing actual card numbers through tokenization, a technology we created and introduced to the world back in 2005. Since then, we have processed more than 5 billion tokenized transactions. After that many successful transactions, we think it's safe to say our true tokenization is the original, tried and true technology that helps merchants keep their payment data safe and reduces PCI headaches.
Throw in our point-to-point encryption solutions, support for EMV, contactless, and mobile transactions, advanced trusted employee fraud controls, full-spectrum enterprise-wide auditing and reporting capability, an enterprise-wide gift card solution, 24/7 customer support, plus a host of other benefits, and you've got a payment solution that can't be beat. If you'd like to learn more about Shift4 and how we can help you save money and avoid being the next victim of a data breach, just give us a call or send us an email.